What a frustrating night for Warriors fans, right? You go into a matchup against the Lakers, even if it's preseason, and you expect the team to come out swinging, but instead, you're left with that bitter taste of what could have been. Let's just call it what it is, a missed opportunity. And look, I get it, no Steph, no Jimmy, no Al Horford, and obviously that changed the whole dynamic. But still, the guys on the court had every chance to prove a point, and they just didn't capitalize. Watching that game felt like you were waiting for something to click that never really did. The energy was there in flashes, the comeback felt like it was within reach, but then it just fizzled out. And when you look closer at why that happened, you start noticing the cracks, especially in the front court. I'm talking specifically about Quinton Post. Now don't get me wrong, the guy has potential. He's 7 feet tall, can shoot from outside, and yeah, he knocked down a few threes. But when you're that size, you've got to bring more than just a perimeter shot. All his points came from beyond the arc. Not one bucket in the paint. That's a problem. Because here's the deal. In today's NBA, a big man who can stretch the floor is valuable, no doubt. But if all you're doing is hanging around the three-point line, then you're basically a tall shooting guard, not a true center. When Quinton Post isn't asserting himself in the post, when he's not banging down low, you lose that interior presence. And that was painfully obvious when DeAndre Ayton absolutely feasted on him. Ayton looked like he was on a mission out there, and Post just couldn't match his physicality. And that's where the alarm bells start to ring. Because if Post is struggling against Ayton, what's going to happen when the Warriors run into Anthony Davis? Rudy Gobert? Nikola Jokic? Alperen Sengun? Isaiah Hartenstein? These are the kinds of guys Golden State is going to have to deal with all season long, especially if they're serious about chasing another title. You need someone who can stand toe-to-toe with those bigs, someone who won't get bullied in the paint. And right now, Quinton Post doesn't look like that guy. So maybe the front office needs to start thinking about using that trade exception. Maybe it's time to bring in someone like Andre Drummond, a guy who might not light up the scoreboard but will give you presence in the paint. Or maybe someone like Alex Len, a serviceable 7-footer who could come off the bench, bang bodies, grab rebounds, and give your team a real interior option when Horford sits or when you want to go big alongside Draymond. Because if the Warriors want to compete with the league elite, they can't keep pretending like undersized lineups are going to work every night. You can't small ball your way through an entire season, especially when teams like Denver and Minnesota are throwing monsters at you in the paint. But let's shift focus for a second, because there were some bright spots in this game. Draymond Green, for starters, didn't exactly fill up the stat sheet, but if you watched the game, you saw his fingerprints all over it. He had one of those classic triple-single performances, maybe something like 3 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, but his impact went way beyond the numbers. He was directing traffic, communicating constantly, getting into guys' heads, forcing bad shots, and helping close out possessions with tough defense. That's the kind of leadership this team desperately needs, especially when the big names aren't playing. And yeah, it wasn't just Draymond out there trying to carry the weight. The bench mob, as some like to call it, got their moment in the spotlight. You had guys like Buddy Hield getting minutes, Gary Payton too showing flashes, and even Quinton Post trying to find his rhythm, even if he didn't quite get there. Jonathan Kuminga, he had his moments too. But honestly, I expected more. The lights were on, the stage was set, and Kuminga didn't quite seize the moment. It wasn't a disaster by any means, but if he wants to take that leap, these are the games where he has to dominate. No Steph, no Jimmy, no excuses. But the biggest surprise of the night, and I'll gladly eat my words on this, was Brandon Podziemski, Pods. Now, I've been skeptical about him. I didn't love what he showed in the playoffs, and I was fully expecting him to be trade bait this offseason. But man, did he step up in this one. 23 points, 8 assists, 5 rebounds. And beyond the numbers, he just looked confident, composed, and in control. He found the right lanes, cut at the perfect times, finished around the rim, and just played smart basketball. And what stood out even more? Draymond trusted him. You could see it. Draymond was setting him up, giving him space, letting him operate, and Pods delivered. That's a huge development, because now we're talking about a guy who might actually have a role in this rotation. Not just mop-up minutes at the end of a blowout, but real, meaningful minutes as a sixth man. Maybe even more, depending on how things shake out. If he keeps this up, he could become a real asset, not just someone to throw into a trade package. And let's be honest, when you're trying to build something sustainable, guys like Pods are exactly what you need. Young, hungry, versatile, and smart. Now, the question is, can he keep it going? Is this a flash in the pan or the beginning of a breakout? I'm still not completely sold, but performances like this make it harder and harder to doubt him. Because even if he doesn't score 23 every night, just the fact that he's playing with confidence, making the right reads, and finding ways to contribute, that's huge. And if you got a guy like that coming off the bench behind Steph, Draymond, Jimmy, and whoever else ends up in that starting five, now you're cooking with something real. And let's not forget, this is just preseason. But even so, the stakes are higher than they seem. This isn't just about tuning up for the regular season. This is about building momentum, setting a tone, and establishing roles. Because once the real games begin, it's go time. There's no easing into it. The West is stacked. You can't afford to stumble out of the gate. That's why these preseason games matter. Not because of the score, but because of what they reveal. Who's ready? Who's not? Who's hungry? Who's complacent? And right now, what we're seeing from the Warriors is a team that still has a lot to figure out. There's talent. There's leadership. But there are also real gaps. Gaps in the paint. Gaps in consistency. Gaps in intensity. If they can close those gaps before opening night, then yeah, this team has a shot. A real shot. But if they keep letting these games slip, if they keep treating preseason like a glorified scrimmage, then it's going to be a long road ahead. Because let's be real, the margin for error is razor thin. You're not just competing against the Lakers or the Nuggets or the Suns. You're competing against time. Steph isn't getting younger. Draymond has maybe a couple of years left at this level. Jimmy is elite, but you've got to manage his minutes carefully. This might be the last real window for this core. So if you're going to go for it all the way. That starts with effort in every game, even the ones that don't count. And as we keep digging into what this game really told us about the current state of the Warriors, there's this underlying question that keeps coming back. What is the identity of this team right now? Because without Steph, Jimmy, or Horford on the floor, you get a pretty raw version of who this team actually is. And the truth is, they look like a team still figuring themselves out. That's not the worst thing in preseason, but it should be a wake-up call. When your second unit gets that many minutes, you expect someone to step up and claim a spot. Not just put up numbers, but play with authority, with hunger, like they're ready for the real thing. Outside of Draymond's leadership and Podziemski's breakout performance, that kind of urgency was missing. Let's talk more about Kuminga, because this was supposed to be one of those games where he makes a real statement. He had the runway. The spotlight was on. And while he had a few solid moments, it felt more like he was reacting to the game instead of controlling it. There's still this inconsistency in his approach, flashes of brilliance followed by stretches where he fades out of the rhythm. And when you're trying to earn a bigger role, that just doesn't cut it. He's got all the tools, the athleticism, the frame, the explosiveness. But what he needs now is that assertiveness every time he touches the floor. This game was a missed opportunity to show that. Then there's the Buddy Hield situation. On paper, he's exactly the type of guy you want coming off the bench. Instant offense, shooting range, a guy who can shift momentum with a couple of shots. But Buddy hasn't quite found his groove yet in this rotation. It might be chemistry, it might be the pace of the offense, or maybe he's just not sure what his role really is yet. Either way, his impact so far has been more flashes than substance. And again, if the Warriors are planning to lean on him for scoring off the bench, that production needs to become consistent. Not just a bucket here and there, but reliable, night in and night out. Another name that deserves more attention is Trayce Jackson-Davis. He's not getting a ton of buzz yet, but make no mistake, this guy could quietly become a huge part of the rotation. He scored in double digits again, which on its own doesn't seem like a huge deal, but it's the way he does it that stands out. He's efficient, tough around the rim, plays with energy, and doesn't need a ton of touches to make an impact. That's the kind of player who earns trust from the coaching staff quickly. And in a season where durability and rotations will be tested, don't be surprised if Trayce ends up playing a much bigger role than most people expect. Now, let's circle back to the bigger picture. There's something to be said about how the Warriors approach this preseason mentally. It's easy to say it's just preseason, but that attitude can seep into the locker room and start defining how a team sees itself. And for a group that's trying to reassert itself as a title contender, that mindset just doesn't fly. Every minute on the court matters, whether it's October or June. Every possession is a chance to build habits, the kind of habits that separate contenders from teams that are just happy to make the playoffs. When you look at dynasties in the NBA, whether it was the Spurs, the Heat, or the early Warriors teams, one thing they all had in common was the ability to flip that switch early. Not waiting until February or March to get serious, but locking in from the jump. That's how you build momentum. That's how you build confidence. And it starts with effort, not highlight plays, not just waiting for Steph to come back and save the day. It's about playing hard, smart basketball, every possession. That's what was missing in the second half of this Lakers game. The Warriors had a chance to close the gap. They had a chance to steal the game, even with a depleted lineup. And they just couldn't put it together. That's not a talent issue. That's focus. That's chemistry. That's accountability. This is where the coaching staff has a real job to do. It's not just about who makes the cut for the final roster or who gets the most minutes in the regular season. It's about setting a tone right now. The players need to know what the expectations are, not just when the stars are on the floor, but when it's the bench unit grinding through preseason games. Because let's be honest, some of these guys are playing for their careers. Others are playing for a real shot in the rotation. And if that urgency isn't there in preseason, then what's going to happen when the real pressure starts? What's frustrating is that the pieces are there. The roster has a mix of veterans, hungry young players, and guys with something to prove. You've got leadership in Draymond. You've got superstar talent in Steph and Jimmy. You've got a front office that's clearly in win-now mode. So the last thing this team needs is a lack of urgency. They can't afford to waste games figuring things out. That's what preseason is for. That's what these games are about, to get the mistakes out now, not in week 3 of the regular season. And you know what else? The Western Conference is absolutely unforgiving right now. There are no easy nights. Teams like the Nuggets, Suns, Lakers, even the up-and-coming squads like the Thunder or the Rockets, they're all coming for blood this year. The Warriors don't have time to ease into the season. They need to start fast, start strong, and carry that momentum into November, December, and beyond. And that means taking games like this seriously. It means holding players accountable, even when the stars are sitting. It means demanding more. Before we continue, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Dubs updates. Let's keep going. In a stunning twist that has sent shockwaves across the basketball world, the NBA has reportedly canceled the highly anticipated matchup between the Los Angeles Lakers and the Golden State Warriors after what insiders are calling an irregular player situation. The decision, which emerged just hours before tip-off, has left fans, analysts, and even players scrambling for answers. According to multiple sources close to the league, the controversy centers around the alleged use of an ineligible player on one of the rosters, though officials have yet to confirm which team is at fault. The NBA released a brief statement citing administrative inconsistencies and the need to ensure competitive integrity, but offered no further details. That, of course, has only fueled speculation. Whispers inside league circles suggest the issue could involve a contract registration error or a player who was not properly cleared after a trade or injury exemption. Some insiders even hint at something more serious, perhaps a violation of roster limits or a player being listed under false eligibility. Whatever the case, it's a rare and messy situation for the NBA, a league that prides itself on precision and transparency. Fans at Crypto.com Arena were left stunned as the cancellation was announced minutes before gates were set to open. "We thought it was a joke," one attendee said. Then the screens went dark, and the ushers just told everyone to head out. Social media erupted almost instantly, with hashtag LakersWarriors canceled trending worldwide within minutes. Both teams' official accounts have remained tight-lipped, posting only brief messages acknowledging the postponement. Neither LeBron James nor Stephen Curry has commented publicly. Those sources close to the Lakers' locker room say the atmosphere was tense and confused. A Warriors staff member reportedly told a Bay Area outlet that the team was blindsided. The NBA is expected to issue a full statement within 24 hours, but until then, the basketball world is buzzing with theories. Was it a paperwork blunder, a hidden suspension, or something bigger? Whatever the truth, this sudden cancellation may become one of the most bizarre chapters in recent league history, and the start of a controversy the NBA won't soon forget. Stay updated exclusively with the latest Dub Nation news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep getting daily updates on the Warriors. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Your input is essential for the Dubs community. Stay tuned for the next video.